Hi, this is Stephen Brower from Raritan Valley Community College. This is for CSIT 256, Computer Architecture and Assembly Language, and this is the overview video for week one. Because this is week one, I just want to mention there are other videos that will go over the process of how some things work in terms of Canvas. And basically, there's going to be a course overview video that will be different. This is just going to focus on the topics that are for week one. The class schedule, if we take a look at it for week one, it looks like, yeah, there's 6 chapters here. And you say, oh my God, 6 chapters is a lot. But there is some overlap. And that's what I tried to note down here, that the Stallings chapter 1 has an overlap with the Irvine chapter 2. And that is sort of giving a basic overview of computers and how they work, and talk about some of the components of the computers. There'll be later chapters that will go into a lot more detail. So this chapter 1 is almost kind of meant to be sort of like an intro to what the rest of the course will be. So there'll be a later chapter that focuses on cache, a later chapter that focuses on memory, a later chapter that focuses on the operating system support built into the processor. And so there's a lot of topics that are thrown out in that first chapter that'll be gone into depth later. So that this Stallings chapter 1 and the Irvine chapter 2, there's a lot of overlap between those two chapters. Another thing that is being introduced this week is number systems, particularly binary and hexadecimal are going to be the two numbering systems we're going to be using for this semester. And there's 2 different places where those things exist. Irvine chapter 1 has the introduction to that, and Stallings chapter 9 has the introduction to that. The other thing that we're going to be looking at are logic tables and Boolean logic, like ands and ors and nors and XORs, exclusive ORs. And chapter 11 in Stallings will have the logic tables, and so will chapter 1 of Irvine. So there's, again, some overlap between these. So when you look and see that there's 6 chapters, don't freak out if there's 6 chapters. Usually there will be 4. I know it's not much more comforting, but usually there will be 2 Stallings and 2 Irvine chapters a week. Some weeks will have less. This particular one here just feels as if it's going to be more. So the way that, and again, a different video is going to approach it, but the modules are set up in Canvas, is that all the topics for the week are loaded into one place. This being the first week, there also is the overview. A different video will tackle that. And then within Canvas, there's the list of the chapter, a 1-sentence description of what's going on in a chapter. The view we're looking at right here, we're not seeing the video. So one, you're not seeing the week 1 video because I'm creating the week 1 video, and I can't show the week 1 video in the video that I'm creating the week 1 video for. Okay. So for the chapters are here. So it gives a brief overview of what it is, and then the slides. And here in chapter 2 of Stallings, one of the things that's being introduced is the concept of pipelining. There actually is going to be a later chapter in Stallings that goes into that in a little more detail. And then the idea of benchmarks. The chapter gives a lot of specifics about the underlying programs involved in terms of a benchmark. And for right now, we just want to kind of know the high-level concept of it. Again, this Irvine chapter 1, part of it is the number representation that's being used within the computer. But the other thing is a sort of an overview of how assembly language fits in to other languages. And then Stallings chapters 9 and 11. Chapter 9 is focusing on binary and hexadecimal will be the ones that we're going to be looking at the most. and then chapter 11 has to deal with the logic tables. And one of the other things that chapter 11 is going to have is a way of simplifying Boolean expressions using a Carnot map. And we'll take a look at that. The chapter 2 of Irvine, one of the things it does is it introduces the registers that we're going to be using for the semester. And the general purpose registers that we're using are these that are here. And one of the things is going to be this sort of a cheat sheet. Actually, let me just bring this up real quick. This cheat sheet, let me bring this up real quick, of the registers, just kind of showing the registers, and then within them how they're broken down into both the 8 and the 16 bit. If we were meeting in the classroom, this here would be as a separate piece of paper that would be used as a reference for the rest of the course. So this here, the general purpose registers addendum, is something that you may find yourself referring to all the way up to week 9 of the course. Okay, this was a bit longer than what I expect the week videos to be, mainly because this one does have 6 chapters as opposed to 4, and I was making a couple sides to things that other videos we'll get into. But for week 1 of this course, these are the chapters that we're going to be looking at this week.